My name is Tanvi Ajmera and I will be helping you for your TCS verbal ability section. Though I understand it's slightly difficult to prepare for examinations during the time of festivals, but nevertheless, I hope my videos help you in preparing and of course clearing this exam. So without delay, we would begin our discussion. In this video, what we've tried to do, students, is we've tried to pick up the pattern of TCS and we've tried to recreate questions which would be, of that same pattern, which would be of the same level of difficulty that TCS is asking for. So my personal suggestion to all of you would be that you could possibly sit with pen and paper yourself and try and solve these questions on your end. And of course, when I'm discussing the answers, you can mark whether you're correct or incorrect with me. Why is this important? Because it will help you realize as to how your preparation is going on, or maybe which section sort of needs help and attention from your end. So we begin with question 1. So this is almost a type of Parajumble question where they've tried to give you 2 sentences which have been fixed in their own position, and the other 2 sentences which we have to pick from the 3 sentences which have been given. So here it's not just about putting it in the correct sequence, but it's also about selecting what our correct answers would be, right? So my personal suggestion would be that first, let's look at the entire piece as it is. Generally for Parajumbles questions, a lot of times we start looking at sequences, but that situation may not help us, considering the fact that we actually have to pick 2 statements in this particular situation, right? So it says some of the earliest currencies were objects from nature. So the way we use rupee or we use notes as our currency now, they're saying that some of the earliest currencies were nothing but objects from the nature, things that you would derive naturally. And your sentence 4, which means there are 2 sentences after this, and your sentence 4 is they were similar in size, small and durable, which means between sentence 1 and sentence 4, we're actually going to describe an object that has been used as a currency, because only then can we describe that they were similar in size, small and durable. Okay. Now let's look at the statements that have been given to us. Although they may seem a pretty random choice, the shells had a number of advantages. So that is our sentence P, right? A notable example is cowrie shells. First use as money about 1200 BC. So perhaps what we're actually talking about is the cowrie shells, which were first used as money, somewhere around 1200 BC. Counterfeiting dates to the invention of money. Okay. Now, this particular statement honestly does not tell us anything about the paragraph, neither can it be a logical explanation of what we are talking about. So for sure, we can rule out R from our choices, right? Which means we can cross out on B. We can also cross out on D, not happening. So our only choices are A and C, which means either it can be QP or it can be PQ. So now when you look at B, right, although they seem a pretty random choice, this they is who. So generally, whenever we are using pronoun, students, of course, the pronoun has to refer to something. The first statement is some of the earliest currencies were objects from nature, right? If the second sentence is that although they may seem a pretty random choice. So now my question is, how? What is this they that we are talking about? How can that be a random choice that we are talking about? So we'll have to possibly describe as to how this could be possible. We'll have to have something in place that we are describing, which automatically makes Q a very nice second sentence or second option. A notable example is the cowrie shell. First uses money at about 1200 BC, right? Then it's further description of that statement, which is although they may seem a pretty random choice, the shells had a number of advantages. What are the advantages? They were similar in size, small and durable. So definitely our first answer is QP. That's answer option A, QP. So I hope all of you got this correctly. You can answer Parajumbles with the same logic. You can try and look for the pronouns as to, pronoun will always have an antecedent, whatever they are referring to. So you may try and use this approach to solve other Parajumble questions also. Sentence error, right? So we have an error in this particular sentence and we need to find out what this particular error is. So taking the responsibility of safeguarding to a different level, the Pune police were making masks for the poor people. Okay, so taking their responsibility of safeguarding. So they say that, of course, police is supposed to safeguard, but here it's been taken to another level. How? The Pune police were making masks for the poor people. Okay, Now, for most of you, the temptation will be, let's say the Pune police was, okay, that's going to be the temptation for most of you. But here, actually, when we are talking about the Pune police, we refer to the people, or, the sergeants or the policemen that you have in the Pune police. Because of which, what happens is this will be were and not was, because we are trying to talk about more than one person, okay? So do not get tempted for answer option C. The error lies in part D. Okay, so students, if you notice out here, there is an adjective. The adjective is poor, right? Poor. Now, the rule says that if with poor, we're trying and using the as an article, then it sort of becomes as though we are, representing the entire community, like the rich, the intelligent, the wise, the poor. You're representing the entire community when you're adding the article the with another adjective, okay? The bossy, whichever way. So now when I'm using the poor, I'm already referring to a community of people who are poor, right? In that case, people becomes superfluous. I need not use people separately in order to actually talk about the safeguarding, because this, the fact that I'm using the indicates the fact that I'm already talking about a community, which is the poor people. So in that case, it's very, very important that you sort of understand that whenever we are using adjectives, please try and see what are the words that have been used before the adjectives, what are the words that have been used after the adjectives. So let's say if it is the poor, we do not need another word called people. We are already representing the community of the poor people, which means our correct answer is part D. Question number 3, which of the following does not use informal language? Okay, another very, very easy yet scoring question. Does not use informal language means using formal language. In short, we have to find a statement which is using formal language. I'm not happy with the service I received. Okay, it's a feedback that someone must be giving after they've availed some sort of a service. I appreciate you bringing this matter to my attention, right? So a lot of times when you're working in organizations or when you're working at other places, you may use such sort of a sentence. We are sorry to tell you that you are not selected. Okay, that's actually not the correct formal way of telling a candidate that they are not selected. Perhaps a better way to be, we regret to inform you, or unfortunately, we have to inform you, to tell you that you are not selected. It's not a very nice way. I'd like to brief you about the meeting. So this is something that I've also discussed with you in my previous video, that generally when we are using contractions like I apostrophe D, that's a contraction. That's actually I would, okay? We do not do that for formal language. So in terms of formal language, we're always using full sentences, okay? I'm not happy, same problem. We've used one contraction, which is I apostrophe M. So what is the correct answer? Of course, it is going to be I appreciate you bringing this matter to my attention, right? This is formal language. Question number 4, we need to choose the most appropriate word to complete the sentence correctly. So this is like a fill in the blank or a sentence completion question. Government buildings are dash on the Republic Day. Okay, we need to say what government buildings are. So definitely out here, there has to be some sort of a verb, right? We've understood that, established that. Enlightened, okay, generally when we say that this person is enlightened, we try to say that this person is awakened, or maybe they've received some extra direction, some extra knowledge. That's when enlightenment happens to you, right? Glowed on the Republic Day also, again, it's not a correct fit to this particular sentence. What does glowing mean? It basically something that does not have light on its own glowed that day, right? Illuminated, illuminate does mean that decorating, and they've arranged it with lights. So this could be our possible option. Lightened on the Republic Day. Now lighten also means to lighten the color, to reduce the effect, right? So this also again does not make sense, which means the only answer possible is illuminated, that government buildings are illuminated, which means they are decorated with lights, because of which they look very, very colorful or lively, whichever way, on the Republic Day. Illuminated is going to be a correct answer. Question 5, the Mughal Emperor Akbar dash 25th October 1605, shortly his 63rd birthday due to yesterday. All right. So they're saying that the Mughal Emperor Akbar, okay, and our options are about death, which means there's something related to dying. And that was shortly before his 63rd birthday. We've understood this. Now, when a date has been given, students, right, whenever there are specific dates, if there is a year, this is another thing that you people could please memorize for yourselves. It will help you. So when we refer to a year, the preposition that we are most likely to use is in. You know, like she was born in 1995, he got his promotion in 2000. But the moment we talk about a specific date, okay, in that case it becomes on. Like she was born on 3rd January 2001, okay, on that specific date. So even here, if you see, we are pointing out that Akbar was dying on, okay, it's a certain day which has specifically been mentioned. So definitely dies on will be the correct answer. Okay, died on, sorry, the Mughal emperor died on, because of course it's something of the past, 1605. Died at, died in does not make sense. So we have two options, dies on and died on. Now dies on indicates present tense, not possible. So died on, because this is something of the past. And if you select died on, then you've already received shortly after his 63rd birthday, due to yesterday, you know, whichever was due or whichever way, right? So definitely the correct answer out here is died on and after his 63rd birthday. Okay. Another fill in the blank for you, but this is a double blanker, right? Challenges must be dashed to realize the dash of a greater regional economic integration. Okay. Now, the first way that you should possibly think is, what do you do with challenges, right? Do you face challenges? When you're presented with challenges, you try to face them fiercely, you know, without any issues, without backing off, something like that. You would try to face the challenges, right? So let's look at words one by one. Challenges must be overcome, right? Is that possible? Maybe, right? Suppressed, challenges must be suppressed. If you suppress something, usko to daba dena hota hai. That's what suppress means. Okay. Must be ignored. Can you really ignore challenges? We are talking about facing them, right? Sustain, like he sustained the you know, surgery, you know, when you've gone through something and you've sustained it. And attempted, right? Attempted. So in this case, of course, the first one makes sense, that the challenges must be overcome. I'm sorry, students, the D is missing, but there has to be a D. Challenges must be overcome to realize the potential of a greater regional economic integration. So that is our correct answer, must be overcome. This will be in the past tense. My mistake, I apologize. Moving on, question number 7. So before that, we actually have a comprehension that we will be going through and understanding how to answer this. It's apparently humankind's fate never to stop writing the history of pandemics, right? So in this particular situation, most of us are discussing pandemic all the time. So even our comprehension is on pandemic. No matter how often they occur, and they do occur with great frequency, we collectively refuse to think about them until circumstances demand it. Very much what's happened, right? We all have seen pandemics before this also, if not seen, heard, but we never take it seriously. We think like it's not going to happen with us. So of course, pandemics keep happening. However, human memory, it completely goes out of our mind until we are not facing it, such as now. Okay. Then when the immediate crisis passes, we put it out of our minds as quickly as possible. Of course, you know, for us also, when COVID is over, it'll be out of sight, out of mind. And so we are unprepared for when the next contagion, in this case COVID-19, bursts upon us. So of course they're saying that, you know, when you forget what's happened with you in the past and it's completely out of your memory, instead of preparing for what can further happen, we try and put it out of our minds. So then something like this happens, which happened with us for COVID-19, that none of us were prepared. Richard Conniff traces this alarming cycle in How Devastating Pandemics Change Us, this month's cover story. So someone's written an article about this, a cover story. It examines our long relationship with infectious diseases, from the hard lessons we've been forced to learn to the brave and often difficult characters who've risked their lives to save us. So of course, even now, we know for a matter of fact that the healthcare fraternity, people who are into administration, you know, people who are on the border, all of them are sort of risking their lives even during this situation so that people like you and me can be safe. So the least that we owe to them is the certain lessons. We imbibe those lessons and carry them on in future as well, but it doesn't happen. Smallpox taught us that we could prevent disease through inoculation, and as the 1700s ended, vaccination. So we've realized this. By the mid 1800s, cholera's lesson was about sanitation and the need for centralized water and sewer systems. So of course, when the cholera outbreak had happened, people realized it's because they're not maintaining the basic hygiene. About the same time, one man we've all heard of, Louis Pasteur, and one many of us haven't, which is Robert Koch, became the co-fathers of germ theory. So there was another germ theory that was proposed by these two individuals. Tools they created are still used to identify and fight what Conniff calls an astonishing rogues gallery of deadly pathogens, right? So you have something called the astonishing rogues gallery, which is in order to fight with the deadly pathogens. So they developed this particular tool. And yet we are here again fighting on two fronts. One, which is fighting against a new coronavirus, sweeping the planet to devastating effect. Of course, a lot of people have lost their loved ones and we do not know what's going to happen next. Second, with each other over domestic and international politics and whether we're willing to pay the price of prevention. So of course, one nation in itself cannot sort of fight this entire pandemic. It's like a joint fight, yet people are even fighting with each other over domestic and international politics and whether the population is ready to pay the price for the prevention. It's an important question for our planet while we debate the next pandemic draws nearer. So while we are having this discussion, maybe on its way is another pandemic, which is, sorted to come. I hope not, but that's what the passage says. So coming back to our question, which statement is correct according to the passage? Research about vaccines is not reliable. Nowhere has that been indicated in the passage. All pandemics are not to be feared. Quite the opposite. We are supposed to learn out of every pandemic that we have. So there should be that fear of people dying and lives being at risk. Pandemics keep occurring periodically. This has been mentioned in the start that pandemics is not something that is happening for the first time. Cholera happened, smallpox happened. Now it's the coronavirus, right? So of course that there is no solution for a pandemic. Now that is also not correct. Like if people learned the correct lessons, then maybe there would be the solution. So of course our correct statement is pandemics keep occurring periodically. In the fourth paragraph, which pandemic is the author referring? So first thing that you need to identify is which is the fourth paragraph. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, which means in this one line, it's an important question for a planet while we debate the next pandemic draws near. So which pandemic are we talking about in this particular question? Is it an unknown one? Is it smallpox? Is it COVID-19? Is it cholera? Smallpox and cholera happened in the past. Right now we have COVID-19, but as we speak, another pandemic is drawing nearer, which means we do not know what this pandemic actually is. So it's an unknown one, right? I hope you got this correctly. Don't get confused. What does the writer imply that we should do, right? So why is the writer saying all of this? Be vigilant about our health and hygiene issues. Wear mask when we step out of our homes. Now that was not explicitly mentioned. That's only for the pandemic. Wash our hands and everything we touch carefully. Again, nowhere indicated. Maintain social distancing and avoid public gatherings. That also wasn't mentioned. So it talked a lot about health and hygiene issues because cholera happened, smallpox happened, COVID-19. So it was about health and hygiene issues, but not specifically about social distancing, washing hands or wearing masks, right? Brings me to the last question for this video. Choose the word which is misspelled, which means there is a spelling error. Perjury, philanthropy, pious, and prejudice. Okay, all starting with P. So before we actually move to the answer, I want you people to know the meaning. Thoda sa extra gyan on Ganesh Chaturthi. The offense of willfully telling an untruth or making misrepresentation under oath. Okay, that's what perjury means, that when you're trying and lying under an oath. Philanthropists are people who are actually thinking for the welfare of others. And these are people who sort of make generous donations to some sort of a cause. Pious is someone who's very, very religious, who's very devoted, very religious. And prejudice is actually some sort of a bias where you have a preconceived opinion, which is not based on some reason or actual experience, but it's just a bias that you have, right? So actually the problem lies with first one. The spelling is perjury. It's Perjury, perjury. It's not perjury, it's perjury. So the first spelling was the one which was misspelled. But anyway, I think it's important that you guys would know the meaning, could be put to use for some synonym antonym question. That brings me to the end of this discussion. Please do like our video and do comment as to what you need our help with. Wish you guys all the best. Do take care.